In other corporate news, co-working space company WeWork might now be on the brink of a total collapse. A few weeks ago, the company had filed paperwork that said it had substantial doubt it would stay in business. In the last 6 months, the company has lost about $600 million and has only $680 million left in liquidity. WeWork was founded in 2010 to appeal to an alternative form of freelancers or those working from home. They would sign long-term leases and renovated spaces, and people would rent them. It owns now more than 18 million square feet of office space in the US and Canada. Thus far, WeWork has never, ever made a profit. For more on this company, I'm joined by Hans Despain, economics professor at Nichols College. Thanks for joining us. I remember when we first started following this trend of co-working space. First of all, they weren't the first to it. There had been plenty of companies that had done it in the past. What made them different was they would offer folks free coffee and free drinks and have happy hour, and they made it, I guess, a fun place to co-work. What went wrong?
Well, yeah, Phil, it's interesting. You're exactly right. There was the model's been around since the 1980s. It really kind of picked up in the 1990s, and as you mentioned, WeWork entered in 2010, 2011 in a pretty well established model. Their real specialty, aside from sort of exciting environments, as you're mentioning, coffee and even wine and beer on site in some instances, is the software they provide. So various companies need different types of software, and WeWork kind of began to specialize in that. Your question was, what went wrong? Well, ironically, I think what went wrong is that it went so well for WeWork. The CEO of WeWork, Adam Neumann, really garnered up a lot of excitement and consequently, quite literally, tens of billions of dollars.
He convinced investors, including his main investor in Japan from SoftBank, to agree to these long-term leases with these big office buildings, right? And I think New York, by the way, is one of their biggest base for offices. And then they would sublease all these office spaces to smaller clients, sometimes bigger clients, for shorter-term leases. And that little bit of money there, I mean, God forbid vacancies ever go up, which it actually did partly because of COVID. And it didn't help that there was an arrogance to the top level of management of Adam Neumann. He was eventually kicked out of the company, in part because of the arrogance, and you could argue lack of confidence in the business model. But if he was still CEO today, what do you think he's thinking? Was the company better off getting rid of him, or would he have changed the way they do business so they could survive better today?
Oh, I think, yeah, at some point he had to go. But the issue is they were very aggressive. There's economies of scale. The bigger you get, the more efficient that you become. So, it's a little bit, if you think of like a health gym, I might work out at my gym here in my hometown, but when I travel, if I'm a member, I can, work out in, any city in the nation, even globally. So these office spaces work like that. So they're very flexible. You're right. They sublease them, but a lot of the times people, that just aren't using them. So again, I think the gym analogy works. But they expanded very quickly, and they opened up a lot of complementary and sometimes just, they bought meetup.com. Go ahead.
Well, look, if you and I wanted to rent a small hot desk, as they call it, it's anywhere between $200 and $300 per month per person. If we wanted a small little office, let's just say a shoebox of 10 by 10 or 10 by 15, you're talking $400 or $500. Now, if you and I had our own little business and whatever we're selling or doing, because of what we went through in COVID, we can Zoom, We don't need to go to an office. You and I can collaborate online via the phone. I mean, there's plenty of ways to do it. We don't need to be in an office anymore unless we're perhaps meeting clients. Don't you think that the pandemic showed all of us that essentially we don't need to go to a co-working space? We could do it almost as well, maybe not perfect, from our kitchen home.
Sure. As it ends up, the pandemic, of course, hurt the industry pretty massively. WeWork was already in trouble, but post-pandemic, Phil, this model has worked brilliantly well. So the way to think about it is maybe a big corporation has a big office in New York, and they're a global or national economy, or pardon me, a company. They may not want to open up their own spaces all over the place. So this is why they would sublet.
Real quick, I got a couple seconds left.
Sure.
Do they make it or do they not make it?
WeWork will not make it. The model will, and their sites will stay open. Somebody will pick it up. It's viable. But they put themselves out on a cliff with a very, very aggressive, risky development. They do not make it. They will go Chapter 11. Somebody will buy them, and the company that buys them will do just fine. The investors will lose big.
Incredible story of a $50 billion unicorn essentially going to zero. Hans, thank you very much for your analysis.